My mind is still torn apart, wondering if I could cause this much pain to an innocent person who absolutely doesn't deserve what's going to happen in half an hour or so. But I'm looking at a poster-sized photo, neatly framed, of Dave and I on our wedding day hanging above the fireplace. Eyes that no longer cry over the decline of my mostly happy 28-year marriage look at her. All the tears were shed while I debated with myself whether or not to start this conversation. I decided it was worth it, but I still fight the urge to run away. Dave will be devastated. John, sitting next to me on the couch, gently squeezes my hand, encouraging me, and I smile at him in gratitude. Over the 15 months of our romance, I gradually fell in love with this man, and I know that every ounce of love I gave him was stolen from Dave. The moment when making love to my husband began to feel like cheating on John was the moment when the preparation for this meeting began. No, I'm far from excited about this meeting, but I'm looking forward to the relief it will bring. I'm going to hurt Dave badly, very badly. It's unavoidable. But after this, I can stop pretending. Pretending that I was as deeply in love with Dave as he obviously was with me. Pretending that I'm meeting my girlfriends, going on business trips, going shopping, when in reality I'm meeting with John. Pretending that my conscience isn't killing me. This is very stressful, and is one of the reasons why I see more and more wrinkles on my face every morning. Yes, I'm waiting for relief. I look at the bookcase and check to see if the baseball bat I hid there earlier is still there. I am well aware of Dave's position on the issue of fidelity. Since the children left home, he began writing short stories about unfaithful wives who get what they deserve. Some stories surprised me with the fury of their husbands' responses. He did make his wives pay dearly for their misdeeds. When I asked him about it, he simply said that he was letting off steam after hearing the stories of some of his colleagues who were truly screwed by the family court system. By nature, my Dave is not a cruel person, but when faced with a man who steals his happiness, his future, he can make an exception. He is significantly larger than John, much stronger and tougher, and much less sensitive. He holds a high position in a biomedical company. John is an artist. If push comes to shove, I will stand between them with a weapon, because I know that no matter how great the provocation, Dave will not physically harm me. I can hold him back so John can escape. I hear Dave's car in the driveway, and my stomach starts churning, and my heart starts racing. I swallow. I need to pull myself together. Deep breath. I wonder what he thinks about the strange car in the driveway. John's car. I know Dave used a similar scenario in one of his stories. This was, in fact, the first story of his that I read. My heart beats even faster. Calm, I must remain calm. Darling, I'm home. Dave walks through the door and looks at John curiously. I stay where I am. I don't want to kiss Dave in front of John. Dave's glance in my direction tells me that he noticed my omission. Dave steps closer, extending his hand. John jumps to his feet and can't hide the look of alarm on his face as the size difference between him and Dave becomes apparent. Before I can say anything, Dave is in front of John, his hand still outstretched. My name is Dave. John, his replacement squeaked. He looks at Dave's hand, hesitating. I see Adam's apple rise as he slowly reaches out to shake Dave's. The handshake is short. Dave lets go of his hand and then quietly wipes it on the back of his pants. After all these years, I know what this gesture means. John suggested that Dave would call it a dead fish. The handshake is limp and feminine and, in his words, a little disgusting. John falls back onto the sofa. After looking at the 2 glasses of Chardonnay on the coffee table in front of the couch, Dave grabs a beer from the kitchen refrigerator. He sits down on the couch across from us, opens the can, takes a sip, and places it on the coffee table. On the same coffee table on which John's glasses and mine sit. The 3 drinks form a triangle. I swallow. My nerves are tense to the limit, like a branch that is about to break from tension. I look up and see Dave looking at me with a question in his eyes. I can't look him in the eye. My gaze moves lower to his faded jeans and casual shirt. How long does it take him to come home dressed so casually? Where is his work uniform? Have they implemented a casual Friday rule? I take an internal breath. Now is not the time to ask stupid questions about clothes. No, but now is the moment I was afraid of. Now I am destroying the soul of a man who is an outstanding member of society, a great father and provider, and a near-perfect husband. The first love of my life, but unfortunately for him, not the last. Dave, we need to talk. Yeah, I got it, Chelsea. His facial expression gives nothing away. It's neutral, unreadable. And that's exactly what I expected. This is how he behaves in stressful situations. He becomes coldly analytical and is much better at thinking on his feet than I am. That's why I replayed this conversation 1,000 times in my head, anticipating all possible angles and coming up with an answer, a plan for each of them. But now I have to ask myself, if I'm so confident that I've thought of all the details, why am I so nervous that I'm sweating? I feel a trickle of sweat running down between my breasts. I just want you to know, Dave, that absolutely nothing is your fault. I hear the tremble in my voice and clear my throat. I still can't look him in the eye. In all the years we were together, all my girlfriends were jealous of our marriage. I know they know, and you should know, that you were a wonderful husband. I laugh, partly to lighten the mood, partly out of nerves. It sounds unnatural. Forcibly, Dave doesn't smile back. I'm trying to soften the blow I'm about to deliver. I'm scared to talk to some of them, to be honest, because I'm afraid that some of them won't forgive me for offending you. Even as I look over his shoulder, I can see out of the corner of my eye that Dave's expression doesn't change. His lips move, but he reminds me of a statue. Are you going to hurt me, Chelsea? The words are simple but expressive, and like a thread to a magnet, my gaze is drawn to his eyes, and I finally look into his eyes. His gaze, hard and unwavering, as if he were examining something under a microscope, breaks my spell, and I look away, shocked. Yes, I'm sorry, Dave, I have to. I stumble over my carefully prepared words. One more sip, another throat clearing. You see, I fell out of love with you and fell in love with John. I want to hurt you as little as possible, but I need a divorce so John and I can be together. Pausing at this point, now that the words have been spoken, I try to see behind his mask the absolute chaos that must be tearing this worthy man apart inside. I expect to see something. The pulsation on his temple, wet eyes, tightly compressed lips, his fist clenching and unclenching. Nothing. His reaction, or rather lack thereof, scares me. I can't stop looking at the baseball bat. The silence between us is unbearable. I can't stand it. I have to fill it out. My carefully prepared speech is a thing of the past. I didn't want to hurt you until it was absolutely necessary. I hope you understand that, Dave. John and I were incredibly careful. We didn't want you to find out until it was absolutely necessary. Until now. It meant limiting our time together. My concern for you and your feelings really cut into the time John and I could spend together. Being together? Having sex, you mean? I can't answer. I can't see his eyes. I have no lies left. I used it all up. I can't lie to this man. I can't anymore. I respect him too much, but I still hoped that he wouldn't ask and wouldn't be so direct. The words coming out of his mouth make it all seem so dirty. I know that my answer, or rather lack thereof, is all the confirmation Dave needs. There seems to be nothing more to say and no point in apologizing again. I'm ready to hurt Dave. I know it. He knows it. The atmosphere in the room is terrible and I want to run away. The tension is almost unbearable. My nerves are tense to the limit and my skin prickles unpleasantly. Dave may not be screaming in pain on the outside, but I know him well enough to know it's happening on the inside. I fall silent, anxiously waiting to see which of my imagined reactions will come from him. Why is my stomach churning? Why am I so worried? I know that no matter how he reacts, it will be terrible. Any or all of them. 50 Shades of Horror. Something I have to go through to start my life with John. For what seemed like a long time, Dave just stared at me until he finally said, "Okay, Chelsea." My answer was automatic and went out before I had a chance to edit it. "Okay, what, Dave?" You want a divorce so you can marry this guy. You'll get it. The tone is patient. The facial expression is impassive, neutral. I lean back and watch. Too shocked to speak. This is definitely not one of the expected reactions. Then a completely different feeling comes over, unexpectedly, like a slap in the face. Like dousing with cold water, I feel insulted. No questions asked, no charges, no raised voice, no red face, and of course, no tears. 28 years together, and my husband won't even spend 5 minutes asking me questions, blaming me, begging me. Damn, fight for me. After months of agonizing over my affair with John and sleepless nights, dreading this moment, I was rejected in less than 10 minutes, without any visible emotion. I need to say something, but I have to be careful. How to break through Dave's armor without losing John. Line, such a fine line. But Dave, after all our years together, are you ready to just leave? Why not, Chelsea? You've already left. You've clearly already left me emotionally. What's the point of fighting? What's the point of fighting for? Why not try to preserve the good memories we still have by just going our separate ways? Some answers, just not the one I was looking for. I open my mouth to ask another question, but Dave speaks before I can formulate the words. Now I believe you have documents I need to sign. I really have. A signed and notarized divorce petition, but it's still in John's car. We didn't expect to go past the screams and tears and possible accusations tonight to get to the point where Dave would actually look at the documents, let alone sign them. Before I can jump up, John is up and heading towards the door. I'm watching him. His back is tense, his shoulders are stiff. The tension got to him too. In the very uncomfortable silence that follows his departure, I say, "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry I offended you." Dave gets to his feet, and I can't help but look at the bat. "No, you're not sorry, Chelsea. If you were truly sorry, you wouldn't have done it in the first place." He turns around and goes to the kitchen to get himself another beer, effectively ending the conversation. When Dave returns to the living room, John is already with the manila envelope, standing awkwardly, holding it at waist level. Dave takes 2 quick steps towards him. My heart breaks for John when he steps back so quickly that he trips over his own feet and trips, his knee hitting the edge of the couch, losing his balance. He lands with a soft thud. This leaves Dave with the envelope. John glances at me, his face red, and I can see in his eyes that he knows he's not exactly being heroic in this encounter. I try to tell him with my eyes that I don't care, that I love him. I turn back to Dave, who is looking at me, his expression so impassive that I can't read his thoughts, and I'm still not sure that he won't attack John. "My friend Mary knows we're here, Dave. If she doesn't hear from us by 8, I told her to call the police. Anyway, if you want to blame someone, blame me, don't hit John." "Oh, I blame you, Chelsea. You're the one who made a bunch of promises to me years ago. Not John. Rest assured, I don't want him to suffer any more than he already will." "Is John suffering? Why? What? What the hell does that mean?" "Well, he looks like he's in his 30s, but he's committed to you." I look at him blankly. Dave looks at me. I've seen a softer, more patient version of this look before. This is when he tells me something that I clearly don't understand. "You, a woman staring 50 years in the face, you will no longer be able to give him children, so he will remain a childless, genetic dead end. I can't imagine a worse punishment for any man, never knowing the joy of his child's first step or first word. Dad, he will never know what it means to teach his child to catch a ball or ride a bike. He will never help with homework or teach his child to drive a car. He will never be a hero for his daughter or a model for his son. I don't think our kids will ever have much to do with him after they find out what you two did." My blood turns to ice in my veins. I'm trembling. I was so caught up in hiding my affair and worrying about how to end my marriage that I didn't think much about how the kids would react. Damn, damn, damn. I'll be lucky if they deal with me at all, let alone John. "You don't have to tell them, Dave." His only response is a slight tilt of his head, as if he's saying, Seriously, do you want me to lie to them like you lied to me? I lower my head. But Dave wasn't done. But the best thing is that he marries someone he can never fully trust. Someone who is capable of hurting him even when she says she loves him. Someone who is capable of hiding the worst behavior with your acting skills. How will he feel the first time you call him Chelsea to tell him you're working late or going out with your friends or one of the many other excuses you used to meet me? With him, hen? And what about you, Chelsea? When your looks start to fade in 5 or so years, and he's still a fit 40-year-old man, do you think he'll hesitate to cheat on you? Think about it. By then, he will learn all your shortcomings. How irritable you are 1 week a month. Yes, 1 week out of 4. That's 25% of the time, because of women's days. He will learn how much you snore when you fall asleep deeply. By then, he will be tired of it. That you have to say, no honey, when you ask him if he thinks your ass looks fat in your jeans. He'll soon find out how much effort you put into preparing proper food, how addicted you are to those damn things, reality TV, how much you spend on every beauty product that promises youth. How, oh shit, he's about to find out all this and more. Insulted, I jump to my feet, words of indignation on my tongue. I'm not the only one who snores. At least I can match the colors. Dave. I open my mouth to list Dave's shortcomings, but John's sigh stops me mid-sentence. I quickly look at him. It's obvious from his facial expression that some of Dave's words are getting through to him. I need to get him out of here. Dave shrugs as I sit back on the couch, shocked. Anger, resentment, and a deep sense of resentment battle within me. Is this what he really thinks of me? Is that what he thought of me all these years? I have so many things I want to say. After months of carefully hiding my affair to protect Dave, I now have an overwhelming desire to hurt him, to make him pay for something he doesn't care about, for rejecting me so easily. But the words don't come. They let me down as I watch Dave take a sip of his beer before tearing open the envelope. I look at my hands, avoiding John, and hoping he's not looking at me either. Half the price of the house, right? Dave mutters, looking at me. I don't think so, Chelsea. This was my home before I met you. It might be possible to get half the savings, but it might not be as much as you think. Half the difference in our retirement accounts as of the date we separated. Yes, perhaps, but you won't get anything until I retire in 17 years. He falls blessedly silent as he reads the rest of the documents. I hope John's love for me can overcome the fact that we won't have the financial stability we thought we'd have, which I promised him. John is living proof of the old joke. What's the difference between an artist and pizza? Pizza can feed a family. The silence continues. She's unbearable. Finally, Dave looks up. Everything is pretty reasonable except the house, but I'm sure your lawyer will charge you thousands trying to argue this. Now, where do we go from here? Well, I guess you need to hire a lawyer and we... No, I mean, what are we going to do tonight, right now? Well, I guess I'll go get a few things. No, that's not true. I want you to leave right now. If you come in 2 days, I won't be. No, that won't work. I'll have changed the locks by then. You know, how about I brought your things to John's next week? If I miss something, you can write to me. I'll tell you right away. You can take all the photos from the walls, except those with children. We will share them. I don't want any reminders about it. You. The only exception is the photo of us from that cruise last year. You can't take it. I wonder what's so special about this photo that it's the only one of the two of us that Dave wants to keep. It was taken about 3 months after I began my affair with John, when Dave unexpectedly offered me a cruise to the Caribbean. I wasn't in love with John then and was still enjoying sleeping with my husband, which is why the photo shows a smiling woman. I have no idea why he wants to keep this particular photo. It's in a massive, ugly frame that Dave picked out, and it's so unremarkable that it hangs on the wall in the hallway just outside the front door. As I contemplate this, Dave turns directly to John and addresses him for the first time. You still live at 42 Belmont? No, sorry, I forgot. You moved a few months ago, didn't you? Now to 58 Greville, right? If I hadn't been sitting, I would have fallen. He knew. Dave knew. Moreover, he knew for at least 4 months. When? How? We were so careful. Like in a montage film, the past year flies before my eyes. Vignettes of dinners, sex, gifts, evenings for two, birthdays, our anniversaries. Morning, nights, days, time with our children. Nowhere. I can't see a change in Dave in any frame. I look at Dave as if I'm seeing him for the first time. This is the man I've spent my entire adult life with. The man who held my hand and supported me when I gave birth to our children. The man I nursed during the flu. The real flu when you can't lift your head off the pillow. Who looked after me during morning sickness. A man I should know as well as the back of my hand. The person I should be in harmony with. Notice any changes in it. None. There weren't any. I'm sure about it. I look at him in amazement. Stranger. My husband of 28 years has become a stranger to me. I thought I was so smart, so careful, doesn't give anything away, a real actress, worthy of an Oscar for her role. But Dave is better, much better. He is Anthony Hopkins, and I am Deborah Messing. He knew and hid his knowledge from me. How could he? How could he hide it so well? If he really loved me, he wouldn't be able to do this. This thought makes me feel hot. It climbs up my neck and stains my cheeks. I don't want to consider her logic. If I really loved him, would I be able to hide it so well? But obviously, I didn't hide it that well. Dave knew. I've known for months. For months, I was afraid. I edited every word. She consciously tracked every facial expression. My nerves were tense to the limit. I was exhausted from everything it took to hide my infidelity and protect Dave from pain. To keep track of your lies. Without sleep. Nervous wreck. It's all in vain. Did he love me at all? Someday? How long had he been pretending? Month? 4? 15? 28 years? All those things he said to John. All those terrible things. What does he really think about me? I look at him and want to hit him. Rip out his tongue. And cry. I want to cry. He's dry. I hold back my tears. Nervous from rage and rejection. I reach for the glass of Chardonnay, wanting to quench the flames and wash away the bitterness from my mouth. It tastes sour. Dave takes the glass of wine from my hand. In his other hand, he holds John's unfinished glass. He turns and walks towards our kitchen. No, not ours. Hi, now it's his kitchen. Over his shoulder, casually, as if talking to a neighbor about the weather, he says, "Come on, Chelsea. John's already in the car." They let me go. I turn my head. John actually left the room. He didn't even wait for us to go out together. 4 years later. I turn to the last page of the magazine, close it, and realize that I don't remember a single article or advertisement. Perhaps it's no big deal. The articles are probably outdated. I turn to the cover and check the dates. There is no satisfaction in being right. The magazine is 3 years old. Can't the practice of such a large and popular doctor afford to buy current journals? I think returning it to its place and choosing another one. And why are they always so late for their appointments? I begin the next round of scrolling, waiting for my name to be called. I look around even as I turn the page. Boring, polite green. He must be calming. Boring pictures of flowers and fields. The upholstery on the chairs along the walls is the same green color. And of course, the usual assortment of diseases. The patients range from completely normal and healthy to those who clearly haven't slept in a month and definitely shouldn't leave their beds. Mrs. Smith. I hear the name but don't react immediately, until they repeat it, and then I wince, feeling stupid. Even after 4 years, I still haven't gotten used to being called Mrs. Smith instead of Mrs. Brown. I get up, throw my bag over my shoulder, and head down the hall to my doctor's office. "Hello, Mrs. Smith. What can I do for you today?" "I came to have my implant replaced. It's been 5 years. "Oh, of course. Stupid of me. It's written in your notes. So you still need to be careful not to get pregnant. You should talk to your husband about taking some of the responsibility and doing the appropriate procedure." He smiles. I answer with a smile. "Maybe next time." I keep my face friendly and neutral, but inside I feel satisfied. My arguments with John to agree to this procedure have been going on for several months. Why should I continue to chemically poison my body when he can just undergo a simple procedure? This is not even an operation that requires hospitalization. This doctor could do it, unlike the non-chemical option for me. I have pointed this out to John more than once. During our last argument on this topic, I remembered that he said that he had mumps as a child. I asked him to get tested, thinking that I could win our argument and stop taking hormonal pills if the test showed low chances for John. The stubborn bastard refused to take the test. But I am also stubborn, so although I was still digesting his cruel words, I secretly collected his sample and sent it for analysis. Oh yes, I did everything right. Irony, of course. It turns out that John doesn't just have a low chance of becoming a father, he cannot have children at all. At first, caught up in victory, I was going to show him the results, but then common sense prevailed. I wanted to return to a happy husband, not a wrestling partner. I wanted love, not just release from sexual tension. Having chopped off his knees with the results, I would not have returned my sensitive artist lover. And somewhere in this revelation, I remembered the inconveniences of Women's Days. I like not having to deal with these problems associated with Women's Day, so I decided to replace the implant. After all, this isn't forever. Dr. Jones says something, and I completely miss it. Excuse me, could you repeat that? I said, how about we replace your implantin with a new type? It's really fantastic, to be honest. Not only does it provide protection, but it records your heart rate throughout the day and has lots of other diagnostic tools. So if you come in and feel unwell, all you have to do is stop by one of our scanners, and it will download the information, and we can see what has happened to you since your last visit. Real space technology. Wow, I laugh. Sounds like something out of Star Trek. What are the side effects? I won't become the size of a barn, will I? Or start growing a mustache? And will it be like implantin, causing most women to stop having women's days altogether? No, nothing like that. Less disruptive than implantin, but with all the benefits of stopping, or at least reducing the heaviness of menstruation. Okay, sounds great. As Dr. Disha Jones turns to his monitor and clicks on one of the icons on his home screen, I begin to unbutton my blouse. Oh, what? He mumbles, rubbing his neck. What the? I look at him, and then at the screen, perplexed by his puzzled tone. Is he, like me, not friendly with technology? How long did you say you had the implant in place? He asks, turning to me. 5 years. How can this be? Are you sure? It looks like you already have a Vanguardian implant installed. All your medical information has been downloaded. What? I ask, perplexed. You should have come within the last 18 months. That's how long they've been approved and available. But I didn't come. I haven't been to the doctor for 2 years or more. He turns back to the screen, and even in profile, I can see that he has turned pale. This is information going back 4 years. How can this be? And what is this other data? Why are there WAV files in there? These are audio files. There must be some glitch. Someone else's Vanguardian implant must have accidentally linked to your patient's map. But 4 years? That's impossible. And I don't understand why I see a Google map with a flag showing the clinic. Let's look at your implantin and figure it out. My head is spinning as I move to the exam table and lie down. I turn my head to the side because I feel a little uncomfortable looking at needles and such. It's definitely Vanguardian, he says, and I can hear the confusion in his voice. It's just like the ones we install, just a little longer and wider. I turn my head and look at the doctor comparing my implant with the image on the screen. My eyes are drawn to the top of the page, Vanguardian. Seeing this written reminds me, I know this name. This was Dave's pen name on a writing site where he wrote about unfaithful wives. Coincidence? The rest of my visit passes in a blur. We'll look into it, Mrs. A. Smith. There must be some kind of cross signal or something in your old implant. Or maybe you were part of some test group or something like that. I'll contact our technicians at Vanguardian and we will let you know. I nod and walk back to the waiting room. I pay the bill and head to the car. With my hands on the steering wheel, bits of conversations from the past float into my already overloaded head. It's a pity. There is a clause in my contract that all my research and inventions belong to the company, so even if I work on something at home in my free time, I cannot patent it for at least 12 months after leaving. Research and innovation were Dave's favorite part of his job, his forte. As if he's sitting in front of me, I see Dave sitting on the couch across from me and John. I remember his faded jeans and casual shirt. I remember the shock of how little there was in our savings account when it came time to divide our assets, and his insistence on keeping the framed photo of the Caribbean cruise we took together 3 months after my affair with John. Stunned, my hands fall to my knees. Suddenly, like a puzzle, all the pieces fit together. I had my implant installed a few weeks before that cruise. At Dave's suggestion to avoid any awkward girl days ruining our vacation. I remember being touched that I had such a caring husband. I look back at the clinic. A different clinic than the one I went to before. Another doctor. I changed doctors and clinics after Dave, and I split because our old doctor, with whom I shared a practice with Dave, was an old friend of his father and the one who inspired Dave to go into medical research. It would be too awkward and inconvenient to continue visiting Dr. Black. Dave knew about John. He should have known. My heart is beating faster. He should have known from the start. Once he persuaded Dr. Black to install an implant developed by Dave, Vanguardian, but also more. Mine contained a GPS locator and the ability to record voice files. This should be illegal. I didn't give my consent. At least that's what I think. I actually signed something. What was it? I don't remember. Regardless, I should sue Dr. Black. I didn't know exactly what I was signing. He retired and lives in Brazil. I know it. Looks like his young wife is from there. Could he be extradited from Brazil? Isn't this where all the German war criminals from World War II fled to because there are no extradition treaties there? Why develop an implant with GPS and recording capabilities? Unless it's to track me. My mind is processing this. And then it dawns on me. Military. Yes, military. Such a device would be useful to them. I know Dave was involved in developing something for diabetic soldiers that would be implanted and regulate their sugar levels without the need for daily injections or accepting medicines. So, a GPS locator and recording device is not such a big step. My mind races through possibilities. Somewhere around that cruise or shortly thereafter Dave had to leave work. No wonder we had so little in our savings account. We lived at his expense. I've never checked. I used a credit card and Dave paid it off every month and gave me cash for tips and markets. There was no need to go to Adams or pay bills online. Dave always took care of all these things. Was the cruise photo a memorial to his retirement? Dave arranged the framing himself. I remember the frame massive and rather ugly. Could this be an implant scanner? Of course not. Deep down I know this is true. That's why he suggested hanging it in the hallway by the coat rack. And why didn't he want me to take it? He knew that I would have remade it or given it to one of the children who might accidentally discover its real purpose. The extent of how I was deceived astounds me. It all seems so fantastic. Something out of a Jason Bourne or James Bond movie, but my instinct tells me it's true. It's all true. I feel as if my chest is being compressed and I can hardly breathe. It is not surprising that he did not try to take revenge during the divorce. He's already done it, at least financially, and I can't do anything about it. Dr. Black is probably out of reach. And knowing Dave, he somehow ensured that I signed the agreement. Plus, it's been almost 4 years since Dave and I finalized our divorce. Sure, I'll get a portion of his retirement funds, but I figure he's funneling the millions he makes with Vanguardian through corporations, and I won't see a penny. I touch my arm where the new implant is installed. I can't even tell John. Things are already shaky at home, and if I admit how well my ex-husband deceived me, things will only get worse. And now Dave lives in Algarve. The children admire his villa overlooking the beach. Well, they do this in the rare moments when we actually talk. I'm in a trance as I pull into the driveway of the small, run-down cottage I share with John. I don't remember how I got home. I hope I didn't run a red light. All I need with today's revelations is a traffic violation notice. On autopilot, I open the door and enter the living room. John is sitting on the sofa. Chelsea, we need to talk. Only then do I see that he is holding the hand of a girl who looks no older than 30, but is clearly pregnant. The deadline is just around the corner. It looks like someone stuffed a basketball under her tight pink t-shirt. There are 2 glasses of Chardonnay on the table in front of them. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.